Today, we uncover an unprecedented mystery, revealing unknown secrets. Before the investigation, General Old White asked Nick a very strange question, making her suspect that this case might not be as simple as it seemed. To swiftly catch the killer, Nick and Laura hurried to Elizabeth's office for a job swap. As a brilliant psychologist, Elizabeth was impressive, but her superior Rob was puzzled by Nick and Laura's arrival, as he had no idea about last night's thriller show. Upon hearing about Elizabeth's misfortune, although Rob wasn't shocked, he mentioned he needed a break, seemingly emotionally drained. Laura soon realized Rob knew nothing, so decided to investigate her home. Given her personal belongings, Elizabeth was indeed, as Old White said, a straightforward person, with her voicemail from Rob being succinct and concise. The basement seemed uneventful at first, and it looked like another dead-end investigation, but just as they were about to leave, Nick discovered a secret door. They excitedly opened the door to find dumbfounding props, as if an adult toy store. Nick was incredulous about Elizabeth's interests. More shocking, a trove of videotapes in the basement. These tapes showed Elizabeth's private records with different gentlemen, leaving them speechless. Nick suspected secrets linked to the case, but kept it secret due to Old White's campaign. She decided to pack the tapes to avoid leaks who wants a scandal before an election. She instructed Laura to notify the detectives to check out these unexpected discoveries. Nick planned to sneak in with them, but Laura found the phone dead upstairs. She decided to check her phone in the car while Nick, busy packing the tapes, had no idea a mysterious filmmaker was lurking behind her. Nick was blindsided by the filmmaker, and the tapes were rented right out of her hands. Nick walked out looking innocent after a minor injury, but hadn't glimpsed the guy's face. The two returned empty-handed, where forensics found over 50 shoe prints impossible to ID the killer. They even found no foreign objects and the victim, leading them to call in a helicopter, which left Laura scratching her head. She puzzled over how the killer managed to tie the victim up here without a trace. There were no signs of struggle on the victim, not even a speck of dirt in her nails, only tear stains on her face. Laura was baffled by this, but Nick spotted something on the roof and rushed over. To her surprise, she found Elizabeth's clothing, a name tag, and quickly asked the forensic team to analyze it for clues. This training ground was normally deserted, save for one lonely guard, from whom Nick learned a few details. The guard noticed a vehicle had passed through, sharpening Nick's instincts even further. Nick realized this case was getting more and more convoluted. Laura, while reviewing Elizabeth's records, discovered she had always been a model student at West Point until her sophomore year, when seemingly everything changed, leading Laura to suspect something had happened. Nick believed catching the killer was a priority, and her main suspect was Elizabeth's mentor, Rob. She wielded psychological tactics against Rob, uncovering holes in his responses. Although the masked man stole the tapes, Nick suspected that Elizabeth might have had a secret relationship. She tried to use leads to break Rob's defenses, but Rob handled it easily. But good news arrived. Rob's fingerprints were found on the name tag, confirming Nick's instincts. Nick swiftly apprehended Rob, sent him to a cell, demanding what happened that night. Rob remained tight-lipped, so Nick, out of frustration, turned to ask him about Elizabeth. She wanted to know what happened to Elizabeth at West Point sophomore year, discovering Rob's involvement from records. But after a moment of hesitation, Rob chose to stay silent, infuriating Nick. Just as Nick was about to walk away, Rob suddenly exclaims, "This is terrifying." Nick quickly pressed him for details, but Rob failed to elaborate on the entire sequence of events, while Laura returned to the scene, diligently looking for new clues. She boldly speculated that Elizabeth's special interests might have led her to engage in some bondage games voluntarily. Unfortunately, this resulted in her demise, which would explain the absence of any signs of struggle until the guard got a mysterious phone call. She hurriedly left, but Laura sensed something amiss nearby, feeling a danger that set her on edge. When she tried to make her escape, she was tackled. A group of masked soldiers ambushed her, giving her warnings, but keen-eyed Laura spotted a ring on her finger. Upon learning this, Nick called AJ. AJ said someone called to lure the military away. She hadn't received orders. AJ promised to investigate, and luckily Laura was fine, giving Nick ring info. Nick focused on General's assistant Helby, who assisted Laura and him during the meeting. Little did they know she was involved in the case as well. Nick didn't hold back and delivered a few swift punches. However, what Helby said left Nick puzzled. She wanted to understand what the obstacle was, only to discover that Elizabeth's father was already aware of her antics. Elizabeth had inappropriate relations with nearly all subordinates, perhaps deeply tied to her father. It all felt like a psychological battleground where her father seemed to be her psychological opponent. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe for the latest updates.